I just want to do God's will.
What you're seeking is a blessing from God.
You must expect a miracle.
You have the power of choice.
Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ.
Welcome to Life Today Live. Randy Robinson here. I'm been looking forward to the conversation. 12 years ago, we had a really young kid in our studio doing some music, and we're all like, wow, this guy's good. He's going places. Well, he'd already won a Dove Award, I think, by that time, and since has won several more songs like "Give Me Your Eyes," "I'm Not Who I Was," Grammy nominee, I should say, for the album "Leaving Eden," the song "Your Love." And over the years, kick on Christian radio, hear a little Brandon Heath, and I always kind of smile. He's just got one of those voices, and his style is I like a lot. So it's good to reconnect with Brandon Heath, our guest today. So I will point out that his last album was in 2017, Faith, Hope, Love, Repeat, until just very, very recently. I also noticed that 2017 was the birth of his first child, and I'm wondering if this 5-year gap had something to do with it. We'll find out what's going on with Brandon Heath, talk about the new album and what he's doing today. And so appreciate you being a part. If you haven't hit like, share, follow, subscribe, those things wherever you're watching, do that now. You'll get more great interviews like this. Brandon, man, great to have you back on Life Today.
Good to be back, Randy. Thanks for having me.
So what has been going on with you? Was I right about the kid thing? Has that led to a little more downtime in your musical career?
I hate to be so predictable, but yes, that is exactly what happened. We had our first kid in 17, a little girl named Palmer. And then in 19, we had a little girl named Elliston. And you may at some point hear them during this interview because they are upstairs and they are toddlers. So, they're having a good time. But for me, I love being a dad. And I really did have to kind of figure out, what does being a dad and being a traveling musician look like? And that really has honestly been what the last 5 years have been all about.
Yeah. And, predictable because it's honorable. And I think you're an honorable guy. And so I admire that. But you did just drop a new one, a new album called Enough Already out there.
Yes.
The singles out there. Talk about that.
Yeah. So it's a new record, but also a new season for me, in having conversations with my wife in prayer about what the next season of my career was going to look like. We decided that I could give it a go. And again, I finished my record deal with Provident label group. I've been with Provident for 14 years, amazing professional relationship with them, but then became indie for a few years as I was becoming a dad. And then we decided that we needed help. I say we, my wife and I. My wife is very much involved in my career. And, obviously I feel like she should be, because this is a family decision now. It's not just something I'm doing on my own. So I signed a new record deal last year with Centricity. And the new record is the first record on that deal with Centricity.
What is it? Just on a layman's terms, what's the difference between indie versus record deal? I mean, is it strictly distribution, or does it affect the production and the songwriting? What does that mean?
It doesn't really affect the songwriting. Well, maybe it does. I mean, if you involve a record label, there are functions of a record label that are still in play, really, that kind of touch all of the aspects of your career. So creative would be A&R. And so that's where I hesitate to say that the songwriting would make a difference, but you're allowing them to creatively speak into your album. So I have a great A&R team at Centricity. And then marketing is another part of what a label would do. Sure. And that's the part that I'm not great at all. And then distribution is another part. So, independent artists, it's easier now more than ever to be independent because, we can get our stuff on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon without distribution. But for me, the partnership with the label is more about marketing and A&R.
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah. Anyone can get their music out there on Spotify for half a penny per se. I hear the revenue's not that great, but I won't get into that. That's not what we're here to talk about. So talk me through a little bit of the last, 3-ish years, because I know for musicians, COVID was a bucket of cold water, made it difficult to do anything. On top of, the new dad thing, where have you been? What have you been doing?
That's a great question. Actually, I was just in Los Angeles a couple of days ago, making up a show that was canceled in 2020.
Wow.
So we're still kind of making good on the tickets that we sold for 2020.
Jeez.
But thankfully, people are being very understanding about, postponing shows. And we're just really now at a place where everything is open. And, even in states like California, where there were really strict rules about going to music venues and gathering with people. Which is where I was. So for me, it was scary, wondering how we were going to make a living in those days and those first days of the pandemic and of lockdown. But to me, I started thinking of solutions. I had a couple of friends that were going to go play some backyards. And so I literally put something on my social media and said, "Hey, America, I am tired of my backyard. Can I come and see your backyard?" And so for 10 days, I accepted invitations to people's backyards, and we visited 20 backyards in the fall of 2020. So that was pretty fun.
So what just you and a guitar or something, or did you take a band? How does that work? And noise ordinances? I'm trying to picture this, because I would think that would be like one of the coolest things ever, but I don't know if my neighbors would like it.
No, that's a great question. We usually would give people like a heads up. Hey, make sure you tell your neighbors that you're going to have a mini concert in your backyard. But often that would, and what was cool about it started new conversations with neighbors that they had never really met before. And then the neighbors would end up coming over for the concert. And if, there were so many awful things that came out of 2020, but there were some good things. And I think one is that we got to know our neighbors, and so it was fun to play songs, never broke any noise ordinances as far as I know. We kept them pretty small to about 30 people, and we kept it outside, to stay safe. And it was really great.
That's wild. Now, so is that over for you since COVID is kind of wound down, or are you going to keep doing that?
So the plan was for it to be over. But as I was planning out my year, my wife and I had this idea to do a small amount of shows where she and the girls would travel with me, and we would still go and see some backyards, because I frankly loved doing it. One of the things that I saw in 2020 is how, people that have been affected by my music and my ministry, I not only was able to send out music to help them, but they were able to help me and take care of my family in a time when it was hard to make a living. And so we cared for each other. And so I'm still doing a limited amount of backyards, even this spring.
Okay. So anybody wants Brandon Heath in your backyard, you can, what do they do? Go to your website, brandonheathmusic.com, and reach out there?
That's a great question. So what you do is you have to follow me on Instagram, because you never know when we're going to open up a few more backyards. So you can follow me at Brandon Heath on Instagram, or at Facebook. I think I'm official Brandon Heath, or Brandon Heath official. And then for 10 days, we keep it open. You send an email to the email that we list. Or you go to brandonthebackyard.com, and, you can check there if you want, but it's easier just to follow me on Instagram.
That is wild. That would be fun. That would be a lot of fun. Okay, we're talking to Brandon Heath, and if you book him in your backyard, you can hear music from the new album. The artwork looks like this. It's called Enough Already, and then you can go get it wherever you get music. I know there was a link on brandonheathmusic.com to listen in different places, and I would encourage you to check that out. I've listened to some of the singles, and it's, you know what, it's the Brandon Heath that I have come to know and love musically. Is there anything different about this album? What's this album to you?
You know, yeah, the album is different in many ways. One, it's a new creative team, all new producers that I've never worked with before, some co-writers that I've worked with before. But I'm coming also from a new perspective of being a dad and being in my mid 40s now. So there's a little life experience, and there's, I don't know, just the tenderness of being a dad. But also I think maybe just the grief of losing my dad. I lost my dad about 4 years ago. And so I haven't really talked about that on a record since I lost my father. So those themes kind of show up on this new record. And I'm really thankful for the life experience, but also that it'll reach a new audience. I think that's where I am in my career.
Yeah, that's very, very cool. All right, I've got a couple things in my notes that I need to ask you about, and I have no idea what they mean. They just, part of your A&R, your promotions team, they mentioned some things, and so I got to ask you. One of them.
Good, they're doing their job.
Are they? Yeah, they are. Well, we'll see. You never know what.
Yeah.
The questions could be way off base. So we'll find out. We'll find out how good they're doing right now.
Right.
We all face mountains in our lives, Brandon. I think you know this, metaphorically, but you have faced some actual mountains. Tell me about the French Alps. What does that mean?
So I found myself very last minute on this trip to the Alps in February. I've never been to the Alps before. So, the first thing I think of is the sound of music, of course. I think that was the German, or maybe
Austria.
Not the German.
Austria.
The Austrian Alps.
Yes,
that's right.
I've been on the Sound of Music tour in Salzburg. I know this.
No kidding.
I highly recommend it.
So what do you do on the tour? Do you wear lederhosen?
Well, I was wearing that already. No, not at all. You see a lot of the places in the movie, which is kind of funny because they're like not near each other. But in the movie, she runs down from the hills to the convent, and it's like an hour apart. We went to the church where they were married in the final scene. No kidding. Cool stuff and they play music on the bus. It's kind of cheesy, but it was fabulous. I loved it. Anyway, enough about me.
When in Rome.
Yeah, so that's Austria. So tell me about the French Alps.
So, the Alps, they kind of like wind through a lot of the countries in Eastern Europe or Western Europe. And so I visited France, Italy, and where was it? France, Italy, and Switzerland.
Yeah. So,
I was with a group called Yay God. They do these amazing adventures. So I think you can find them online, Yay God. But it's basically an adventure trip grounded in worship and Bible study. And so all three amazing things, and it was an incredible experience.
So is this for musicians, or is this just anybody wants to go?
No, anybody that wants to go.
So here's my question. So I sign up for this trip, this
Yay God.
Yeah, and then Brandon Heath is on the trip with me. That had to be a little bit of a kind of like, whoa, what's going on? I mean, did you like lead worship at night or something?
I did. Yeah, I would lead worship pretty much every day, and then we had a speaker that was doing teaching. I've done a couple of trips with Yay God, and it's pretty incredible. It's actually kind of more of an active trip, like we're hiking or we're exploring The other trip that I did with them was Tuscany. So, it's a rough gig.
Yeah.
But we really have an amazing time, in conversation and then being active outside. And so, yeah, that's what that was. It was incredible.
You seem to be a very personable kind of guy. You like getting to know people, talking to people, because it's a small group, it's backyards. I mean, that's sort of the opposite of the picture of, the music industry where I want to play arenas, I want the lights on where I can't see a face in the crowd. But you seem to enjoy actually getting to know people. Am I right?
I really do. Yeah. There was a time when I enjoyed arenas, and I'm at a different phase of life now where, to me, it's more important to me to have conversations and sometimes even friendships with people that love my music, and it's hard to do that in an arena or even in a theater sometimes. So this is just something that makes me, it renewed my love for playing music and really getting to know the people that it resonates with. So yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite ways to connect.
I'm a little curious why that is. So where do you sort of spiritual motivation, that sounds all lofty and everything. I'm a little bit curious about just how does Brandon Heath view the world and himself in the world in relation to his role as a musical ambassador for Christ in the world? Is that way too deep, or is this something you think about?
No, I mean, well, when it started for me in music, I was really, I wanted to be a songwriter. It was not my goal to be an artist. I've always really enjoyed being more of a background kind of person. One of the things that I love to do as a musician is really set the stage for either an experience with God, or that you could come aside and rest a while. Like, those are the things that I love, So, my music tends to be a little bit more chill, introspective, autobiographical. That's kind of my approach with songwriting. And so it lends to more of an intimate experience. Yeah. And so for me, I feel like my role is to be a good host to people, and to give them a place where they feel as though they can interact with God. So I guess in a way, it's like worship. I mean, that's really what I think a worship leader does. Yeah. It sets the stage for a person to interact with God. So it's my own version of worship.
I love it. I know it's very cool. On the new album, Enough Already, is there a song, a message, anything that stands out in particular to you that you like to talk about?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that the title track, Enough Already, it really, it has a double meaning, and I love double meanings in titles. Enough Already came to me when I was writing a song about not feeling good enough, and that tends to be like a common struggle that I have in my life, is just not feeling good enough, not feeling qualified. And a couple of years ago, I had to really dive deep into the scripture and how God qualifies us, and how Jesus, through his life and death, qualifies us to be good enough. So that was the first place that I went. But then also, like, why is there a wound? Why is there a wound? When I was a kid, my mom and dad divorced, and my dad was MIA for a few years. He did come back into my life, and we had a great relationship until he died a few years ago. But those wounds are still there, and they don't easily go away. Even with forgiveness, our forgiveness is not nearly as complete and perfect as God's forgiveness is through Jesus. So I've been on a journey with forgiveness, but also worthiness. And so the record talks about that a lot. That's like the common theme. Forgiveness is still really important to me, as it has been in my journey. But I think that, there's a reason that God says 7 times, 70 times, it takes us, we're not good at just one time forgiving. Sometimes we need to forgive over and over and over again. So that's really what is important to me. And that's what I wanted to put in the record.
Yeah. And I know people will relate to that. I think it's one reason, aside from the style, which I do, frankly, I love your style, the laid back kind of
Thank
style.
you.
But beyond that message, that's going to resonate, man, because you're right. This is where so many of us live, to different degrees at different times in our lives. But that's just part of the human struggle. None of us feel good enough. And that's, like you say, that's the beauty of Christ is he says, one, I died while you were still a sinner. You were nowhere near good enough. But now in me, I will perfect you. Let's walk this out, and that's the invitation. Let's walk this out. And he knows it's not like God's surprised, that our struggles, our imperfections. Here's I'm curious about this because, I've got 4 kids. They're all adults now. I've got a grandson now, crazy, which is awesome. But
wow,
you got a couple of toddlers, right?
Yeah.
Are your toddlers perfect? Are they, perfect? You're going to say they're perfect, but you know what I'm saying?
Buddy, I'd be the first to tell you they are not perfect.
Okay. But your love for them, has that struck you as a dad, that father kind of love that you have that's inexplicable, unwarranted? It just is.
It just is. And even in my inexperience as a dad before they were born, I immedely loved them and would never love them less or love them more,
Right.
But what I do think has happened is that I have it's helped me to see how God sees me like that, which I think is what you're alluding to.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that he gives us the opportunity to be parents is just so that we could see how much he loves us,
Yeah, I do. Yeah. You love, you love them fully, even when they make mistakes and they break your heart, although that's coming. Sorry. I hate to ruin it for you, but it can be difficult at times, but you love them fully. It doesn't matter. You love them with everything that you are. And that's just we're imperfect parents. If us imperfect parents can love our children that way, how much more can God love us, right?
That's true, man. I've heard it said before, but man, I can really feel it now.
Yep. Okay. I have one more question from the notes I have to ask you about, and that has to do with Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yes. So, you said literal mountains. So Kilimanjaro, first of all, I barely knew where that was. And if your viewers don't know where that is, like a lot of people will know it's in Africa, the continent of Africa, but it is in the country of Tanzania, which is about as far east as you can go on the continent of Africa. And it is the tallest point of Africa. Some people call it the roof of Africa. And it's at 19,400 feet.
Wow.
So, I think our tallest mountain is 20,000 in America, which is Mount McKinley. So it's almost as tall as Mount McKinley. And there are glaciers up there. So a lot of people don't realize that there are glaciers in Africa, but there are on the top of Kilimanjaro, which is incredible.
So two questions. Number one, does it rise like Olympus above the Serengeti?
Well done. Well done. I know where you're going with that. Thank you, Toto. No, it really is like, it's crazy because the Serengeti is right there.
Yeah.
So Toto had it right there. But it's like, it's crazy, this mountain in the distance that just keeps going up, up, up.
Yeah.
And that's what's a little different about Kilimanjaro, is that you start around 4,000 feet. You know, like it's the tallest of facing, the largest of facing mountain in the world. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen that. I've seen McKinley, and that's wild because you can be down at the coast and McKinley's towering over you up in Alaska. But why were you there?
So that's a great question. I was invited to go meet a guy. I can't call him a kid because he's like 24 years old.
Yeah, that's a kid.
But my wife and I, it's a kid. My wife and I actually sponsor him to go to college in Tanzania.
Oh, wow.
And so for me, his name is Raja. I really wanted to meet Raja. My kids pray for Raja every day. Huh. So I was going to meet Raja, and then I found out that Raja was going to be climbing Mount Kilimanjaro with us. So he lives at the base of Kilimanjaro, yet he's never been on top of the mountain. And so it's a dream for someone, especially who lives in Africa, because it's not cheap to climb Kilimanjaro. You need a guide, you need supplies. It is not an easy thing. So to do this with Raja, we shared a tent together. It was an amazing experience, and I really got to know him well.
Sounds like a song could be there. You know, a lot of us Christians, we live at the base of this beautiful spiritual mountain, but we never climb it because of the cost is too much to us. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. You should be a songwriter.
Oh, no. I'm the wannabe, you know, I'm the dream. Anyway, you actually do it, and I admire that, and you do it well. So is there anything else? I appreciate your time. I love the conversation. Love the new album. The new single is called See Me Through It. People can go hear that now.
Yes.
Go check that out. As soon as we wrap this up, go find it wherever you find music. See Me Through It, Brandon Heath. Is there anything else you want to just let people know about that you're doing that I haven't hit?
No, you know, I am going to go to camp with my family this summer. The first time. Camp was a big thing for me growing up with Young Life. So Young Life is an outreach to high school kids. And I'm taking my family to camp this summer. I'm really excited about it. So just I love that I'm in a new season, and I you know, my kids are keeping me young, so it's pretty fun.
I love it. All right, man. I appreciate your time. Good to catch up with you again. Maybe I'll see you in another 7 years, or by Zoom or in person. But appreciate this.
We'll be old by then. We better do it sooner than later.
Oh no, I am young and full of energy. That's what I tell myself every day. Just gotta.
Amen, brother.
Right.
Amen.
All right. Brandon Heath here on Life Today Live. You can check out the new album now. Enough Already. The single See Me Through It. Go find them now. They are wonderful. You will enjoy it. And come back. We'll see you next time. We've got more great interviews here on Life Today Live.
In spite of our rebellion, in spite of our sins, in spite of our failures, God says, I love you. I love you.